Alright, let's be real. I'm not sure if this is going to take off, but what I do know for sure here is there's gonna be spoilers. If you're not a Final Fantasy fan, or if you just haven't eaten the series whole yet, but you want to know what's going on, this is your place, unless you hate spoilers. 4.4 Alphascape. The big robot's on his last bits of processing power and we're coming for him, but what's in the back is gonna be a bit of a throwback first. Today, we'll be diving way back into the history of things. Let me tell you how we're gonna do this. We're gonna turn back the clock to a darker age. Okay, whoa, hey, not that dark. I mean, back when we were dealing with Squaresoft, not Square Enix. Back when this was a company singing its own eulogy, going out with a bang. Back when it really was the Final Fantasy. That's right, opening up Alphascape will be the final boss from the beginning, Chaos of Final Fantasy I. This mean Mamma Gemma isn't quite as iconic as a certain silver-haired swordsman or chaotic clown, but he certainly is the mother of all callbacks. Final Fantasy I was the picture of what you'd expect a turn-based RPG back in the day to be. 4 unnamed heroes, 4 crystals of power, a kidnapped princess, and heroism to be done in a very polite manner of bopping your foes to death in order. Ultimately, it was what set Square off to be the titan they are today, and it's received a few re-releases, remasters, whatever you'd call them. This also isn't the only Square title Chaos is featured as a character in, so let's dig a little deeper into this chaotic situation. Chaos is, simply put, a nasty four-armed demon holding up a time loop for the sake of immortality. Where he came from is far more interesting though. Remember that kidnapped princess I mentioned? Meet Sarah, Princess of Cornelia, and her kidnapper, disgruntled former greatest knight in the land, Garland. He's here to knock you all down, all for the sake of the king handing over his lands. One inexplicable lust for power, a kidnapping, and a solid smackdown later, Garland's not having the best of days. Some villains might have let that be the day was saved, roll the credits. Garland's a bit more tenacious. His 4 generals, known as the 4 Fiends, or, in Japan, the 4 Chaoses, gleefully pull him into the past, and it's revealed that they were in fact in the past. In fact, they were sent by Garland to the future to do some nasty stuff with the crystals, and now he's got a nice wibbly-wobbly timey-wimey immortality deal going, which starts and ends with him getting blobbed by the gang. A tactical genius, he was not. Either way, Garland suits up for round 2, and ends up absorbing the power of the Fiends, becoming who we came here to see, the four-armed demon, Chaos. But this story doesn't end with his inevitable heroic defeat here. After all, Square has this handy crossover universe called Dissidia. We're not going to deep dive here, but suffice to say, Garland makes it into that free-for-all of divine chaos too. As does Chaos. Here's where it gets confusing. Chaos in Dissidia is a god. We're not backpedaling after fighting the great winged prune of power. No buts about that, he's the opposing deity of Cosmos, and he's here to represent discord. Once again, he's the antagonist, but he's also got his own story here. Lots of this and that about him being a mannequin raised by Dissidia Sid to be a weapon, and a mannequin of Sid's wife, his mom, being Cosmos. It's a very intriguing story we just don't have the time to get on about in this video, because there's also Feral Chaos who exists in its own nightmare realm, and long story short, we've got a lot of material to draw from already. So, what are we dealing with here? The hard nitty-gritty. What can he do? Well, in his original appearance, Garland come Chaos has a very nasty plain physical attack that tacks on paralysis to give him a very threatening base. Getting totally locked down isn't really in many Aspire hero playbooks. He's also got a bevy of the basic Ga-level elemental spells, Slowja for you, and Haste for himself, Curaja to really drag out your resources, and even Flare, and that's just his spell roster. 4 more monster skills tossed on top make him a spot more trouble. Blaze is uniquely tuned to him and deals a ton of fire damage. Tsunami and Cyclone, in their original incarnations, dealt heavy non-elemental damage, and Earthquake could straight up instant KO. Really, it's a rounded roster of self-care and not-self-not-care that'll devastate an unprepared party. His Dissidia kit, on the other hand, is a lot more focused. You're looking at a lot of fire and earth flying at you, slashes and teleporting uppercuts. Of particular interest are Negashock, a set of energy waves, Condemn, which pulls people in and tosses out a pillar of flame to punish them, Utter Chaos to supersize himself and get to flame swording, and Brink of Delusion, where he finally fills the rest of his hands with more swords, throws them, and then things explode. Feral Chaos has a few other tricks under his belt, but let's not go that far. We've already got enough to work with today. So, what are we looking to see from his Final Fantasy XIV rendition? Without a doubt, fire. Just so much fire. The spell itself doesn't even need to be included, and he'd have more than enough fire damage to make a black mage red, blue, white, and green with envy. Blaze and a few of his other abilities really make me expect ground-sourced fire pillars, possibly chasing players for a short time. He's definitely going to get physical with the tanks, and while I wouldn't be surprised to see swords come out for a tank buster, I'd equally settle for a plain old clobbering. Without a doubt, Blaze is one of his calling cards, though I'd fully expect Tsunami, Cyclone, and Earthquake to make a showing. Room-wide mechanics to make the party shuffle, maybe just pure raid damage from Tsunami and Cyclone even. I'd honestly be disappointed if we didn't see Condemn with how easy to execute yet visually potent it would be. And Utter Chaos and Brink of Delusion would be great to get some platform coverage and get people moving. So, what have we learned today? Well, 4.4's raid tier is going to kick off to a fiery and explosive start, and considering boss number 2 is a dragon, I don't think we're going to be slowing down at all on that front. There's a lot of background that gets packed into these bosses that has to get shuffled to the side. Referential material is great, and I'd really love to see this tied more into Eorzea's story, to see where more of these guys came from to end up in Omega's database. Looking at the lore and the original material for a reference boss is a great way to start thinking about how a boss is going to try and hit you at worst, and how to mock their limp hits and laggy misses at best. So go ahead and leave me some feedback, like, comment, and all that good stuff below if you'd like to see more of this going forward. As for now, let's close the Bible and get to work. I'll see you in the Scape Raiders.